right? What company man at? For sure, brother. Um, Shout out to the homie. Come on. Me and him always have great talks behind the scenes. He's he'll tell you straight up how true that Black Panther shit was, because he was the person I was having the Black Panther conversation with.
Yeah, what's going on, bro?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing good, man.
Flagging the
Out
back.
here, out here, enjoying the refresh. It's been good for me.
Hey, nice, nice, nice. I see you got that black on both sides back there.
You know
Next
what I
to,
mean? That's a classic, man. I was brain fart. What's the joint on Drogas Wave where you're saluting them?
I don't know.
Where you use the flow. I can't think of the title right now, but
What's the word, man? You seen the shit that just happened? Did you just see that shit?
which one?
This nigga
I know.
turn up on me like I'm some bitch. Like what?
Yeah.
And his cousin in the back, like, nigga, come to Minneapolis. Come to Minneapolis. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I've been looking at all this stuff, and I actually feel pretty good about the diversity of communities that are coming together. I feel like there's a lot of different stimuli that's a part of it. Meaning, I'm not sure if this looks the same if we don't have 40 million unemployed at the same time. But I think that's important.
I mean, some of it's lip service, just so you know. A lot of this corporate shit is lip service. And what niggas is what I don't know what I know, because you know how I roll, and you know how I'm actually connected. You know I'm not just saying shit just to say it, and you know I can actually talk to the CEO of that company and be like, why are y'all doing that?
Right.
Some of this shit is lip service, like, and some of it is like what you're getting is niggas marketing budgets. They're looking at this as a marketing plan, and they already got 100 million earmarked to waste on commercials, and just so happens that the commercial is Black Lives Matter at this point. And some of the programs is like, yeah, we're gonna give you 100 million over 10 years, right? And at the same time too, you still have to, so when you talk about diversity, I'm looking at like who's actually in the pot. And it's like, well, you got this corporate kind of piece, everybody's leaning in and shit like that. And there are some people who do have that heart of gold. I just had a conversation about this with some really smart people, and it was you do have some people that are heart of gold, but then on the flip side, you got other folks where this really is a write-off for them. It's a tax write-off, and it's perfect, right? They're not really selling product, but they can still build up the brand, and actually get some customers to buy into their shit. And it becomes, you'll be a fool not to do it, right? Because there is some consequence to not tagging along to the piece, and it ain't gonna cost you shit, right? It's not cutting into your bottom line or no shit like that. I think it was, when you look at Reed Hastings, I think initially the reports were like 5 million, which ain't shit. But then he turned around, I think he's given like 100 million or something like that. That's on the Netflix side of things. And I mean, it's great gestures, but then a lot of that shit is, even if you look at the stimulus checks, a lot of niggas still ain't get their stimulus shit, right? I mean, it's like, we just said we was gonna give it to y'all, but giving it to y'all is a whole nother equation, right? So I mean, there's that part. I'm not saying that the totality of it is all that, but that is a percentage of it, right? That it is optics and atmospherics, and lip service. And then how much of that lip service, well, once you exclude that from the equation, what are you left with? Right? What are you actually left with? And I think that some of it is, you got some niggas who don't care. They don't care. They don't give a fuck about George Floyd. They don't give a fuck about Trayvon. They never did. They never will. Right? And not just I'm talking about like average people, black people. They don't give a fuck about that shit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get mine. Niggas die every day, B. And it's like, okay, so what is the actual count of the people who actually give a fuck, that can actually do something, right? And are actually willing to do something in the long term.
Do you feel like the overall consciousness is shifting a little bit?
No.
Meaning, not at all.
No. Right?
I tend to think so, because I feel like younger people are more willing to commiserate with the plight of others in a different type of way. Right. I'm doing this piece on Zoomers. I did a piece on millennials a while ago, and I'm doing a piece on Zoomers. And all the studies on Zoomers are pretty much done by Republicans, because Republicans tend to be way ahead of Democrats when it comes to analyzing populations. And Zoomers are 3 to 4 times more likely to say that discrimination is real, race issues are problems, than their parents and their grandparents. On the Republican side, on the conservative side, however we talk about it. To me, that feels like progress. Because when they compare them, according to Pew Research, you compare it to millennial generation, or you compare it to previous generations, that wasn't the case.
So the issue with stats is that there's always other stats. The issue with data is that there's always other data, and there's always other data. And then there's data, and then there's reality. The silent majority was a real thing. People underestimated the silent majority, right? Back during Nixon's time, who was a super fucking, right?
Right.
He was speaking to the silent majority. He was like, we know that you're not going to survey. We know that you're not finna do none of that shit. And we know exactly how you feel. And so we're going to speak to you. We have to speak to kind of the loud minority, which they'll be fully represented in the statistical analysis, because you're only penetrating, depending on your sample size, what's enough to get a good sample? 1,000 people, 10,000 people. Nigga, it's 400 million people in this country, right? And when things like the silent majority, it's like, how did this nigga keep winning, right? How did Trump actually win? How might this nigga win again, right? Because it's not necessarily a specific, it's not necessarily a general feel. People are operating off of a specific issue. People hate Trump as a person. They think he ain't shit. All people, not just like all motherfuckers. Like the amount of people in Republican Party, they'll even admit, like, yeah, I don't really like the shit that he says, But when it comes to police, I'm with him.
Right. When
it comes to zoning laws, I'm with him. When it comes to business stimulus packages, I'm with him. Even black people, like, yeah, I'm with him. Yeah, I want that money. I want that budget. I agree with you. I don't agree with that abortion shit. I don't. Right? I'm a true blood Jesus Christian. I don't believe that shit, and I think that you should fight it. And I think that Planned Parenthood should be abandoned. And I think that when you start to get into specific issues, all that shit changes. And like I said, race is a very easy, big issue to say, yes, I don't agree on the surface. But motherfuckers, what's the problem with researches and surveys? The real problem, people lie. Right? That's a big thing when it comes to surveys. And that's why a whole bunch of energy is put into the question that you ask, because you got to trip people up, right? And you got to come back and do it again and make sure you ask the right questions, because niggas will straight lie to you, right? And you could do a survey of asking people, how many times have you lied on the survey? And you're like, yeah, I lied like 50% of the time. Like, I just wanted to get that shit out the way and keep it moving.
Right.
Right. And the reason I don't feel that there's really a consensus in the change of thinking, because if you go back through history, recorded history, not just like people that have said shit on camera into a television camera that's recorded to today, not what you think a motherfucker said. The same sentiments and feelings are there. There's people who don't give a fuck about black people, right? And they didn't give a fuck then, they don't give a fuck now. They may care about their aesthetic and the way that they're perceived and represented, because they don't want to come across as being like, I'm a good person. And if you make this statement that being a good person is not being racist, they'll be like, okay, all right. But they'll be like, I still wouldn't live next to you motherfuckers. I still wouldn't go to the same hospital you motherfuckers was in. Like, it's still things that I just will not do, right? And that's alive and well. It's in the North, it's in the South, it's in the East, it's in the West. It's everywhere. And even with all of that said, and this was kind of the piece with the brother with Loudman, is that I tend to, and people are kind of upset with me about this. I focus on that Dubois top 10%. I focus on the people that are willing that actually show the will and the energy to actually do something positive and creative and better their lives. I don't bother with the bottom 90. I don't make music for them niggas. I'm not talking to them niggas. I'm not trying to interested in what these niggas are saying. I'm not trying to philosophize. I dip into what they're doing just to make sure that they're still being that bottom 90. And, right? And I haven't seen that change. Right? In the 15 years that I've been doing this shit, being in the public and, you know, analyzing and assessing and reading and looking, I haven't seen that shit change. Right? I haven't seen the hood change. It's the same niggas, same situations, same problems. And one of the I guess you can call it one of the phantoms or the myths of this whole thing, and my brother Brief brought this up earlier in the chat, was that you hit a point where you realize it's not white people. It ain't got shit to do with racism. Right? It ain't got shit to do with what this white man in Alabama thinks about this black man in Boston. He's not even there to physically even do anything to this motherfucker. And it becomes, how much of this are we doing to ourselves? And the minute that you say that, the bottom 90 is like, nigga, what the fuck is you talking about? That shit is, nigga, you mess with that, you know, and the bottom 90 ain't just a bunch of dumb niggas. It's educated black folks who went to school and got degrees and got doctorates and do this and run for office and do this, but they still in that bottom 90. Right? And that top 10 who's just kind of like, I'm able to see the world for what it is. I understand forces. I understand that it's not about everyone, that I need to have white friends and black friends and Chinese friends and this. I need to have an array of diversity of people in my circle to get shit done in this world, right? I can't just be, you niggas don't know how to do nothing. You niggas don't know how to code. You niggas don't know how to build shit, right? And the ones that do, that's who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the niggas who know how to code and know how to build shit and know how to do shit. They in the top 10. Right? And they not worried about this shit. They got a certain level of insight and a certain level of outlook. And they, you know, they do, I think they do what I do. They peek in to see what the conversation is. They speak their piece. Then they get back to building their shit.
Do you think it's important for that 90% to be striving to be in the top 10%? Just in generally speaking, not at all.
No. One of my homies, who's a great, he built a he's Indian. He's really Indian, like from India, right? He built a community in India. You know, India is a very impoverished place, very crazy place, very racist place, very strative classist place. And he built kind of this open community for people to come and live and prosper and grow, and like just, he's like, fuck, I can just build a whole city and see what the fuck happens, right? Yeah. And we were all at this conference in India, and he's a beautiful dude. Like, he's one of those dudes that, you know, as soon as you walk in the room, like, is this nigga even walking or is he floating? Like, he wanted them dudes, right? And super intelligent. And he was talking about, we were talking about like good and bad in the world. And he gave this example, and he was like, because he's a farmer, he farms, you know, he has a relationship to the land. He has a relationship to like composting. And he was like, he gave the example of composting. He said there's two types. When you compost, there's two types of bacteria, right? There's bacteria that smell like shit, and bacteria that actually has no smell, right? And what you want to do is, you want to have the bacteria that kind of has no smell, right? You want to create the conditions for that bacteria to thrive versus worrying about the bacteria that stinks. And he was like, don't worry about the bacteria that stinks. People spend too much time focused on trying to get the bacteria that stinks to not stink. And they forget and look over the bacteria that doesn't stink and helping to create the situations for that to grow. And eventually what will happen is the bacteria that doesn't stink will overtake the bacteria that smells like shit, if you give it the proper attention and real attention, not just kind of like maybe look at it, but actually focus on your whole life on conserving and generating in that space 100%. Then the rest will take care of itself. But since people spend so much time trying to fix these broken niggas, right? You forget about the kid who don't need to be fixed at all. He just needs you to read to him. He's waiting for you to give him another set of books, right? He's waiting for you to challenge him. But you so focused on this nigga over here, right, that his calls go unheeded. And that person kind of goes off into his own shit, or that person gets kind of disconnected, right? And that person will still thrive and prosper, but you missed the opportunity to help him thrive and prosper faster, quicker, better, right? And you spent all this time trying to fix this nigga who don't want to be fixed, right? And so for me, that's something that I just experienced in life, and it crystallized when he said it, right? And this is a person who built a whole community out of nothing, right? Versus somebody who's like, I just grew up and lived in a city, or I started a business. Like, he didn't start a business. This nigga started a whole town, right? So it's not to be callous. And again, that's just me. It's 400 million people in this country. There's 6 billion people on this planet. This is just Lupe's point of view. If you feel like that my point of view is fucked up, or you feel like I'm missing the point, then you do it. You go get loud, man. You go focus on it. You got all opportunity, access in the world. You go get them.
Right.
How come you not going to get them?
You know, I also been looking at all these. I'm fascinated by this new round of let's take down, you know, certain statues and certain symbols. Mm-hmm. And to me, symbols are important, though. You know, and I think symbols do a great job of at least inspiring that kid who just needs new books. You know what I mean? So, and to your point, because I do agree that there is a lot of posturing when it comes from a corporate standpoint, or from even an individual standpoint when it comes to, oh, everybody's doing this, let's do this now. But I do think that, you know, when I look around and I see Confederate statues being pulled down, or in the UK, they're pulling down slave trader statues, for example. To me, that is powerful. And I think that, and most of those were put up, in my opinion, especially if you look in America, as ways to oppress different people's thoughts, or oppress their feeling of where they stand in society. I mean, to me, just the prolificness of all the different Confederate statues, slave trader statues across the world that have been pulled down feels to me like part of a consciousness shift.
Well, I mean, I'm with you to a degree, but that conversation gets a little colored, no pun intended, when you look at the history of those statues. Those statues aren't new. The ones in the UK are probably old, right? And those are different. Those are like the statues of like actual slave traders. But you got to ask, why did they have the statues? Because they probably built them shits themselves, right? They were a lot of what a lot of people don't know about the slave trade was that it was as if you're trading in the stock market, right? You didn't see slavery in Britain. There were slaves there who were working in the houses and working on the land and shit like that, but it was no plantations and shit like that there, right? You might have had some factory work and stuff like that. But slavery there, the relationship was like you turn on MSNBC. You know, slave ship goes out, you know, sets up new plantation, cut me a check, keep it moving. And what you would businessmen, they weren't just in the business of slavery. Like, they had all kinds of shit that they was doing. They might have been politicians, they might have been this. Same thing here in the States with Thomas Jefferson, right? He wasn't just a slave owner. Like, this nigga had all kinds of shit popping, right? And so depending on where you want to focus in on that person's achievements, you'll be like, oh yeah, cool. So at one point in the UK it's different. Where at one point it's like, yeah, that nigga was a businessman, or he was a this, or he was a that. And he was probably rich enough and powerful enough, or ran a guild or some shit like that, where all the niggas in the guild ain't had no problem with slavery, right? They were all slave owners. And you might have had a few that were abolitionists, but they were still like, but, you know, we'll deal with that shit later. In the meantime, we need to figure out draining this canal or draining this swampland to do some other shit, right? Or build this railroad. A lot of the reparation money went back into building the railroad in the UK. I know that for a fact, that a lot of the money, when the plantations were shut down, especially in Jamaica, a lot of that money, the slave owners, plantation owners, the investors, they went to the government. The government had to borrow money, I think from fucking the Rothschilds or some shit like that. But they had to borrow money to cover the claims that were made for reparations for the slave owners. And those checks were cut. There's a whole book in the UK archives of the people who got these reparations. And then they took those reparation monies and they built the railroad. Like the railroad wouldn't exist, not without slavery, but without people getting paid the money back that they lost when the plantations were eventually shut down. And then the UK was also one of the first places, one of the only countries in the world to abandon slavery and abolish it and actually actively police it, right? So you have things like, that's what Drogas Wave is about. You have things like the Black Joke and the British Navy sinking fucking slave ships, right? So the UK situation is a little different. It's a little different. It's not all the way different. It's a nigga who owned slaves and this, but it was also something else. And a lot of those statues might have been very old, right? And put up in the time when that person could potentially have still been fucking alive, you know, or a few years out. The situation in the States is different. Almost all of those statues are new, right? So they're the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, where these statues were erected. In some cases, even now, right? Where these statues were commissioned and erected. And it was at a time when America was in a place where you had issues of immigration. You had issues of religious, like the Catholics versus the Protestants, like for real, like niggas was dying. Like we finna kill the Catholics, we finna kill the Protestants type shit. And you had all these forces in the country where people were trying to rebel against the diversity that was coming, right? And people were trying to look back into history and trying to find symbols of kind of like strength and power, right? And the only thing that you had, at least coming out of the South, were these fucking Confederate generals, who a lot of people consider heroes and still consider heroes to this day, right? This dude fought for this dude fought for that, right? In certain cases, like, yeah, this nigga fought for slavery, but it's at a certain point, it becomes like, no, this dude was just a general defending this town because motherfuckers were trying to kill everybody in it. And slavery was just the cause that got this nigga to be hired, right? But at the end of the day, this general might not have owned one motherfucking slave. He was just a fighter of the time because now we're at war, right? I would even go as far as to say a lot of the plantation owners and a lot of the slave owners, these niggas won fighting. Right?
Most of them won.
Trump didn't join the fucking army.
Yeah, right? Most of them won.
So, because they're rich and they could buy their way out. That shit didn't change from now to back then. It's just the same. Rich people don't go to war, right? So there's something to that being a modern thing and why niggas was doing it. And the response to it being that, yes, you should take all that shit down. I'm with you. Rip all that shit down, right? But it's not something that's historic. It's something that is actually very modern, right? In its approach and in these things being erected. But do I think that is a response? Do I think that is a sign of the conscience changing? No, absolutely not. Actually, the reverse. Because who's tearing down the statues? The people who put them up ain't tearing them down.
Right.
Right? The people who bring flowers to them, because people still bring flowers and as memorials to these people who've died. Right? They're not the ones tearing them down. It's the activists and the people who disagree, and Antifa and Black Panther and Black Lives Matter. They're the ones tearing that shit down.
Right. Right?
That's not the people who did it realizing that they had a crisis of conscience and now we need to right our wrongs. That's not a redemptive moment, right? And wait for the response. What a lot of people forget, and shout out to Mr. Legacy Jones, we talked about this a lot. A lot of people forget, a lot of people remember the Reconstruction, right? Our post-Civil War, people going through the South, you get a black senator, you get all of this shit that happens during Reconstruction. You get the Freedmen's Bureau, you get all this shit. What people forget is the redemption. The redemption was the response to Reconstruction. And during the redemption, which goes into I would say the redemption goes up all the way until today, right? I don't think the redemption has ever stopped. What the redemption was white America responding to that, right? It's like, you got your chance, you got your shit off, I got the ball back, now it's my turn, watch what the fuck I'm finna do. What you get in the redemption is birth of a nation, right? What you get in the redemption is the highest mainstream presence that the Ku Klux Klan has ever had. Chapters all across the country, in cities and towns all over the fucking country, right?
Washington.
Right? That's what you get in the redemption, right? You get lynchings in the redemption. You get a whole lot of other shit that occurs in the redemption. You get the erection of these statues during the redemption, right? So what I'm waiting on, the samurai code is that in times of peace, you prepare for war. In times of war, you prepare for peace. I'm prepared for the response. And I think what you see in Atlanta specifically with the brother Brooks and his unfortunate passing, the response was 50% of the Atlanta police force not showing up to work. Right? And I think you're going to start to see those responses, whether rather subtly, sometimes in some places very, very, very open and very public. And in the annals of power, where the racism still exists, where they're racist to other white people, where the European blue bloods, like, we don't even fuck with Americans, let alone niggas. America, right? We don't fuck with that. We don't fuck with new money. We don't fuck with Mark Zuckerberg. We don't fuck with Jeff Bezos. That's new money. And it's not even about the money. It's not about the amount of money. It's the respect and the power and the lineage and the history. You know, my uncle, my family, my Rockefeller, the Habsburgs, all those people still exist, right? These are people who shape the face of the world. Nigga, Africa looks like the way it is on a map because my uncle did that. Nigga, you just sold a bunch of shit on the internet, right? There's a different conversation that happens when these people get into, I know this for a fact. There's a different level of conversation when you're sitting across the room from a prince versus a billionaire. And that conversation changes. So in the annals, the deep, deep annals of power, this shit ain't doing shit. That's an insurance write-off, right? That protest is one big insurance write-off, right? This rearranging deck chairs on the deck of the Titanic, as they say.
So let's take that, because I think that's, I was waiting for the police department to do something like this too, right? Especially after I saw that press conference they did in New York, the police union did in New York. And I grew up in the South, and the way we were taught history is different than when I lived in the North, because I split my time growing up. And I'm thinking about, okay, well, what's the response to, the police BlueFlu calling in sick? We know that's going to happen more places. Mm-hmm. There's people already championing that. They're like, good, finally. But then there's this other conversation on the side that's happening at the same time too, where you have, the Black Lives Matter organization in LA give presentations to city council, showing what the people want the budget to go to versus what the budget's actually going to. Spoiler alert, all the money goes to police. Nobody wants that. And these conversations about defunding the police, in your opinion, because I'm very interested in what happens after the response as you see it, does the police walking off the job give an opportunity or force an opportunity for some of these more progressive or leftist, let's say, ideas about defunding the police or changing the nature of police? Does that become more likely or more palpable if people are just quitting their job or walking off?
I mean, it's too complicated for my little dumb mind to wrap brain around.
Now, come on, man. You made the long change, man. You made
brain
the long change.
Stupid for mind to think about thing he just say, me not know. I'll put it to you like this. It's case by case, right? So state by state, it's city by city, municipality versus municipality. There's some places where that shit's not finna fly. Period. Hang it up. Shit's not finna fly. You're not finna defund the police. You're not finna disband the police. You're not finna get rid of that shit, right? I don't care what you do. There's some places where that's not finna happen. Some places where there's a little bit more energy to do some kind of cooperative type thing to occur, but only at maybe a certain level in the police department. It's never gonna get like, it's never gonna run through the rank and file, because the rank and file does not respect the public, right? They respect their own internal orders, right? They respect their captain, they respect their chief. They don't respect anybody outside of that. They don't listen to anybody outside of that. They don't give a fuck what the DA says. right? They don't care what the state's attorney says. It's them. They're the ones who've been on the force, dodging bullets and whooping asses and pulling cats out of trees for 20 years back to back. And it'll always fall to that. And it's always, yeah, there's some motherfuckers who are racist, but that racist cop wants that black dude to have his back when they go in that fucking house. Same thing in the military, right? Like, yeah, I'm racist. I'm from the South. I got blah, da, 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 da. But when we go hit this building, we soldiers, right? And I want you. I don't want this other motherfucker. And that shit is real, right? And it's a difference from the theory and the logic of what the job should be versus being on the job. Them niggas is brothers and sisters for life, right? Even with the bad apples and the shit that's in there, they still will look at it as like, yep, that's what we do. That's what a black cop came up and talked to the white cop and was like, how are you doing? Right? What about Brooks? What about Brooks? How are you doing? We'll deal with that later. Right? That shit's real. So to not take that in consideration, I think is a trap for people. I think to underplay the role that the police actually play in the community for older generations of people who've grown up with the police, who ain't finna die in 2 months, like they still got 30, 40 years of their life ahead of them, who relied on 911, who is a large part of the population in a lot of these communities, the silent majority as they call them. They're not with that shit. Yeah, the activists and the young people on the streets, yeah, y'all always with the shits, right? But them old people ain't with that shit, right? They're not trying to, man, they've had their shit broken into. You know, they've had their shit doing this, and none of you niggas came to save them. The police came. And so their trust is in that space. And that's what you're dealing with. You're not just dealing with the politician, because that politician has to deal with them. He has to deal with that constituency. And that constituency, if you wrote that shit down on a piece of paper and be like, do you want police in your community? Everybody's going to say yes. Run a survey on that shit. They're like, yes. Yes. Do you want them to be modified? Yeah, we want them to be safer. How can we get them to be safer? Of course, you're going to have the nuances, but do you want police gone? That ain't the vibe right now. And like I said, not in the silent majority, not in the actual annals of power. That ain't the conversation that's taking place right now. I'm telling you that for sure. Right? On the streets, it's different. And there's more of like, you know, okay, well, we know we're not going to get rid of the police, but can we change the police? And that conversation has been happening for 200 years. Right? That's not a new conversation. SOP, reform laws, and it happens internally. That's why you have internal affairs at the police. They know that themselves. That's why police have their own internal divisions of investigation. Right? So it's not a new conversation. And if you do kind of like how can I say this? Like, I think you'll have more momentum and more pushes, but here's the kicker. Trump already signed the bill. He already did it. So this conversation, he already was like, oh, that's all y'all want? That's easy. That's easy to sign something, give some money, and no shit's not going to change because y'all don't really understand the internal workings of the police force, how strong these niggas really are. Yeah. Right? This ain't a game. Like, these niggas ain't playing. Like, these niggas are smart and tough and motherfucking ready to fight it out. And they got the union and the FOP and all that shit's real. Right? They got connections in the community. Here's the freaky part. How many informants do you know? How many do you know personally?
Me personally?
Yeah.
That work? I probably know 2 people. I know a couple snitches.
Right? How many like active criminals do you know?
I know some criminals now.
Yeah,
I know a lot of drug dealers.
Okay. How many criminals and CIs do you think the police know?
All of them.
And have a working relationship with these niggas?
Yeah.
Right? You think the police ain't in the hood? You don't think they don't know what's going on? You don't think they know who's doing what? If you set up a place where you could say, if you had this, if you told the police one day, you said, look, y'all got one day where don't worry about the backlash. Just go get them niggas. The streets will be clean in 2 hours. Yeah. It'll be a bunch of niggas locked up, but They know who doing what.
That's like handcuffs.
But they know they can't do shit about it. Because their level of like, I know this nigga selling dope. I know this nigga killed them people. I know this nigga doing this, but I got to do this fucking investigation.
Yeah.
I got to cross the T's and dot the I's and do the paperwork and do all that shit and chain of custody and all this. I know this nigga got all that shit in there. But I know if I go in there and I just kick in this nigga dope, they finna throw all that shit out. So now I got to catch this nigga dirty. Police are, if you don't think the police know the hood back and forth, ups and down, who's doing what, who did what, you're playing yourself.
You know what's funny? I've had 12 different friends get arrested in the past week because they got caught looting. Mm-hmm. They were on cameras. They caught them coming out the store with the Jordan 13 Flints. You know what I mean? They had the license plate, and it was all racist. Everybody got. I'm sitting there like, half of them didn't have masks on. This is the one time you can wear a mask, and half of them said, fuck it, we going in anyway. You know what I mean? And even the technology backs up just their institutional knowledge at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, these cats were stealing with their cell phones, and it wasn't on airplane mode.
Listen, it's hard to kind of have these conversations with the general populace because people just won't believe it. Or like somebody just said, you know, you're overhyping the police. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm actually underplaying the shit. Yeah. Right. And if you didn't have certain laws in place, I mean, the streets would be quiet and clean in a day, my nigga, because everybody going. Right. And I think just I say all this to say, as you start to build and assess your enemy, if you look at the police as an enemy, this is what you're dealing with. Right. You dealing with niggas that know it's a nigga in the hood that they could give $500 to kill you. That's the police. They know it's niggas like that in the hood. Right? Like, man, I could just get dude like $1,000 here, kill that hoe. And do the take it. Right? And do it. And so when you think on the front end, on the front end of like all of the legal and protocol and all that shit, like, yeah. On the back end, these niggas is gangsters. They deal with, they have to become a gangster to even figure out what these niggas is doing. Yeah. Right? And that's your enemy. That's who you're dealing with. Right? So not only do you have to deal with it on the front end, you got to be smarter than them. You got to know more law. And I'm sure some people do know more law than the average cop. But you're not willing to do what he gonna do on the back end, on the dirty side. You're not capable of that shit. So how you finna beat this dude? How you gonna beat that system? Right? How? You don't have it. You don't know any criminals. You don't know any niggas in the hood that actually do shit. All you know is this front end shit. All you got is your fellow homies that you went to Howard with, and y'all got some legal shit y'all put together and some other shit. And you going against niggas who are half 1 foot in the criminal world, 1 foot in the legal world, and protected all around. How you gonna do that? And I'm not saying don't try it. I'm just saying that be fully aware of what you're dealing with. You're not just dealing with pussycats. Like, these niggas will kill you. Like, the police will, they do it. Like, if the nigga's willing to do it on camera, you don't think that a motherfucker will gladly pull up at your house, shoot you in the face, put a pistol on you, and then call it in.
It's like my man Daniel Shavers. I just recently learned about this story about this white kid in a motel. Police just came in with semi-automatic weapons, killed him, never explained anything, never was charged, never was arrested, nothing ever happened to him, no justice for Daniel Shavers' family, any of his loved ones. And I know we see hashtags tend to trend in the same direction, meaning we have this feeling that no other population never has justice done at the end whenever the police overstep. It happens more than we think, even if, you know, we know that it's proportionally more in one direction than the other. They equally don't give a fuck, though.
Yeah.
I'm working with 2 organizations right now. One of them is working to get a bill passed that changes how the police budgets are distributed nationally. And I'm just getting hip to how big the police pension really is, how well funded the police are. I mean, we're talking nearly $1 trillion nationwide in pension money. Pension money. You know, that's mind-blowing on its own, right? And one of my favorite Tupac lines is, they say, never go to war if you don't got your money right. I got my money right and I'm ready for war. These guys are sitting on $1 trillion. And so I feel like the change that has to happen, if we're going to see change, has to be in that direction. But that's where people fight harder than anything. When people come after your money, that's when you really don't care.
Yeah, that's when niggas pop. That's when politicians pop up with bullets in the back of their head. You're like, who killed dude? So, oh, yep, dude who's going after XYZ. That's nigga who really pinpointed the money. Oh, the money. Oh, shit. Yeah, he went after their money. Yeah, I kill a nigga going after my money. That's why cartels are like a bunch of niggas die. Why they killing all these niggas? Because the money, nigga. That's why. Niggas kill each other over fucking each other hoes. You know, shit like that. With all of what you just said, right? For me, it's about being sober about the situation. It's about not operating off myth or drunken kind of like courage and just be like, this is what we're dealing with. Let's really sit down and talk about this. Are we built to do this? The same thing, niggas can call Martin Luther King a pussy. People just call Martin Luther King a pussy. Like, this dude a pussy. Like, I'm rolling with Malcolm X. This dude a coward, right? From letting a white man slap me, right? I'm not finna do none of that shit. I'll show you. I got video of niggas just like, I don't fuck with Martin Luther King like that, man. I fuck with him. In the hood, in Oakland, right? Hair slicked back, all kinds of shit, looking like today, right? And I was like, what Martin understood, and Martin can't talk to these 90% bottom ass niggas. When you speak to the 10%, in this conversation, I'm speaking to the 10%, right? It's like, Martin was like, we can't win this. We don't have the numbers or the guns or the supplies, right, to fight an extended war against white people in America. We can't do it. We'll lose. So he came in military first, military minded. Let's kill some niggas. Do we have enough bullets to kill these niggas? Nope. Do we have enough supplies to even sustain one? Can we take over one city? Can we invade motherfucking Birmingham? Nope. Nope. We'll die. Fuck. What else do we got left? And it's a sober approach to be like, okay, it's a long-term strategy, non-violence. Okay, cool. We need to do this. We can hurt him here. We can hurt him there. It ain't gonna take overnight. It's gonna take 20 motherfucking years, but we're gonna get it done. We're gonna have more people alive than dead at the end of the day. We're gonna live to fight another day and keep it moving, right? And I think that type of assessing the enemy, assessing the situation, then self-assessing your own supply chain, your own ability to conduct kinetic warfare, right? Down to the bullets that you have to fight this war. And assessing the enemy and understanding that's not pussy shit. It's not whole shit. It's not you being a coward. You ain't got no nuts. You ain't got this. You being dumb. You just you catering to the man. You doing this. You doing that. It's like, no. It's like, I understand my enemy, right? And I know I can't beat him. So I'm gonna go fight in a different weight class, and I'm gonna whoop all these niggas at this weight class. But I'm not gonna go heavyweight and fight Mike Tyson. I'm gonna get my ass killed.
You know what Lupe lyric has been in my mind this year? Bernie Sanders needs a Nike deal. Then I might consider that he might be real.
Yeah.
That shit is hilarious.
You know who else has a Nike deal?
Who's that?
Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Right? How real did it get when Nike said, we're going to put this ad out? How real does it get when that shit we say just kind of like, nigga, that's power. You need a fucking shoe if you're trying to beat Donald Trump, my nigga. Nobody fucks with you. It's good.
Oh, man.
Nobody fucks with you in the hood, man. The smart hood, the 10% niggas fuck with you, but 10% ain't finna win you no fucking votes. Right. Ain't finna win you no office. Nigga, you need 90%. You got to cater to these goofy, dumb motherfuckers out here, bro. That's what they respect. They respect symbols, and they respect logos, right? That's the shit they respect, and you got to play that game. That was my issue with Burn. You know, like you gotta play the game. Yeah, your enemy, and to Bernie's point, Nike would be his enemy, would be his mortal enemy. You have this offshore corporation with crazy markups on their product, right? That you would want to bring some, if you brought that manufacturing to the States, right? You would do XYZ, blah, 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 blah. He would be like, that would be the main target. But nigga, that's who you need to win. Are you just trying to win, or are you just trying to talk shit? And I think a lot of people are just trying to talk shit. They're not win. And when you put a winner in the room with a fucking loser, you see the difference. When you put a Donald Trump in the room with just a regular motherfucker, you see the difference. Donald Trump won because he's a fucking winner. And fucking Hillary Clinton was a fucking loser, right? Hillary Clinton didn't go to none of them states. Barack Obama won because he was a winner. What did he say? I'm not just the black people's president. I'm everybody's president. That shit shockwaves through niggas. Like, what? Nigga, we voted for you, but you're not, you supposed to be our president. Like, no, president, bitch. And let me quote this Thomas Jefferson real quick for you.
It's funny, and I'll be straight up, because I do believe in the electoral process. I do. And even with all of the reasons not to, that I've been bombarded with since birth, I still do believe in it. And one of the organizations that I started last week with a friend of mine is looking to get corporations to certify that they'll make election day a corporate holiday, right? So that we're not asking for no money. We're just getting people to sign up and say, and we're starting with entertainment. Hey, you guys are putting out all these statements. Hey, you're telling people to deal with it at the ballot box. Here's your chance to certify that you're going to give your employees, all of them, especially the ones who are working in the buildings, the ones who are working at night, cleaning the buildings, you're going to give them the opportunity to go vote, nonpartisan or anything, right? And so I do believe in the electoral process in that regard. And so before COVID and before this new level of uprising, I've been so frustrated with Joe Biden. I was so frustrated with Joe Biden. And I'll be straight up. Before all that stuff, I was sitting there like, man, I should probably either vote for Trump or just not vote at all. I'll be honest. Because I'm sitting here like, because I don't feel like change really happens unless, things get real bad. I was like, Trump's doing a great job of driving this bus into the ditch. We just need to rip the Band-Aid off. Let's get to the point where everybody's like, okay, everything's got to be completely different. And now I look up with these uprisings and COVID, feels like the bus is in the ditch. And even with that, I still feel like Trump's going to win.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to win.
Yeah. I mean, he could. Derek Chauvin can beat his case. I think the officer in Atlanta will beat his case. I think that the things that we rely on, the feeling of things and not the facts of things, are going to come bite us in the ass. Niggas felt that Donald Trump wasn't going to win. But in reality, the numbers on the ground spoke differently. He won in states that Hillary Clinton didn't even fucking go to. Barack was like, you didn't even go, bitch? Remember he said that shit? He was like, you didn't even fucking go. The fuck was you doing?
Oh, God.
So, I mean, he might. And this going off the numbers, I don't think he will. But again, the silent majority is a motherfucker. And I think a lot of this shit will play the other way. So a lot of people think like, yes, we can just push whatever we want. That's not how it works. There's a compromise that needs to occur. And that compromise is going to happen in places that you don't fucking like, because the police fuck with Trump, right? They don't not fuck with Trump. They fuck with dude, right? And it's going to be like, So who don't fuck with the police? Joe Biden don't fuck with the police? That's why Joe Biden was like, no, I'm not with that shit. We're going to give these niggas their money. We're not defunding shit, right? Joe Biden's already on it. He's like, no, I don't agree with that shit. We're going to pass bills to make sure that these niggas get some money, right? So you can already see kind of the writing on the wall where niggas is set up and ready to betray the trust of the public, to betray the sentiments of the public, which right now is very anti-police. But the niggas in power know that system is what's way stronger than the public is kind of underrating it to be, right? And you see the folks who are status quo, like we need to maintain the status quo, and Joe Biden's all the way status quo. Joe Biden not finna change shit, right? It's just a softer ass fucking. You know what I'm saying? Like he not finna DP you, right? But he's still finna fuck you in the ass, right? So, but he's gonna do it softer and more politely, right? Well, Donald Trump's just gonna rape you to death. Like that nigga don't give a fuck. But you're still gonna get fucked in the ass, just so everybody knows. But I do think that there's something to what you said. I think it's operating outside of the system and at least giving those people who feel like they're on the people who have been notoriously on the sideline of these kind of like situations politically, not realizing that, yeah, people can't go vote because they got to go to fucking work, right? And nobody's making them go to work except you, right? Take a hit, take that lose that day worth of money because they're going to lose some money. Companies go to work every day because motherfuckers make money every day. So it's like, calculate what that loss is going to be, but then put it on the other end. Like think of the value that's going to gain when you actually have the people in office in mass, that if people who actually were allowed, who had the time to go have a vote and holiday would vote, this whole shit would be blue all the time, right? But they can't. But the flip side of that is also all those motherfuckers who vote red, who can't vote, now can vote. And you're going to be surprised when you realize, fuck, maybe we shouldn't have did that because we... Right. People come from all these Republicans that had to go to work. Like, yeah, brother, if it wasn't for you, I would have never voted.
We got to thank y'all. Thank y'all for y'all little boycott.
Nigga.
You know what? I'm fine with that, though. You know what I mean? I think.
Yeah, man. You say you fine with that. There's a great.
I'm fine with that.
There's a great case of. I don't know if you've seen if you I think you should watch it. It's dope just because. You ever seen that Making of a Drug Dealer or something like that on Netflix? I think it's Making of a Drug Dealer or something like that, or Making of a Drug Scandal or some shit. No, I'm thinking of Making of a Murderer. But anyway, it's about those two. It's about the two drug labs in Massachusetts. You have one near Boston. You have one out west near Amherst or whatever. And you had these two drug labs. And these two specific drug lab technicians had these two crazy ass shit that was going on. One woman, she wasn't even testing the drugs. She was just writing on the shit that the shit was real. The other woman, you had her, she was just taking the motherfucking drugs, right? She's like, I'm a drug addict. I've been a drug addict for 15 motherfucking years working in the drug lab, just going crazy back in making crack, smoking crack, all kinds of shit. Like she was going fucking wild, right? And what was my fucking point? I lost my point. Why did I bring that shit up? This is about the fucking elections. Just had a brain.
Yeah, we're just talking about everybody voting and being surprised who else hasn't been voting. I don't know how we got to the drug labs, but I'm fascinated right now. How did she work 15 years in the drug lab doing drugs every day and her heart still worked?
What was the point of that shit? She was like, that wasn't the case. I can make that the case, but that's not true. That's not the point that I wanted to have. Where you had these people in the fucking in the drug lab. They never been drug tested before, right? So she was like, you just gave me a drug test, I wouldn't even have been in this motherfucker, right? But they wouldn't even drug tests and shit like that. Fuck, man, I can't remember why I bought that shit up. Anyway,
I just feel like I got this image of Pookie in New Jack City in my head with homegirl on drugs.
No, I know why I was, because you was talking about the people that you allow to vote, right? And you'd be surprised who kind of comes out to fucking vote. And you might actually just give your enemies the ammunition and shit that they need, right, to actually kind of fucking do it. So one of the stories in that show was that there was a guy who had a case that was fucked over from some of these lab technicians, right? And so you had this lawyer who's kind of in the doc. Watch this shit. This shit is cold. So he's in the documentary, and he's kind of leading this charge of like, yo, we need to get all these fucking drug convictions thrown out. Like, all this shit is fucked up. Da 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 da. We need to get my clients out of jail and da 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 da. Right? And so the whole majority of the show, you're like, yeah, you need to get dude out, man. You need to get that motherfucker out. But what you start to realize is that they never show this dude in the show that he's trying to get out. You just see pictures, right? But they never show him, you know, like in the show, interviewing him and shit. And it becomes like, man, that's strange. Like they talking about this, they talking about this dude, but he's not there. Like it's his wife, it's his son or whatever. And what happened was, dude went to jail. Dude got him out because of this drug shit, right? I think dude went back in because there was something where all the cases got thrown out by one judge. Like they went into one judge, that judge threw out all the cases. They went to appeals or some shit like that. That judge reinstated all of the sentences, so all these dudes went back in. So this dude was like, fuck, man, I'm in, I'm out. And then the last time, he got the cases thrown out again in front of another judge. Got the cases thrown out, so dude gets out. But then it's like, he might go back in, because now they're like, yo, they might throw all the cases in. So he ODs. The dude dies in his kitchen. His wife finds him, like just all the way fucked up. And the lawyer was like, maybe jail was the best place for this dude. Because in jail, he was getting treatment. Because he was a drug addict. He was getting treatment. I mean, there's still drugs in jail, but it's not like enough where he, you know, like he's not finna OD and shit, right? And he was like, yo, man, it's fucked up because if I would have just kept this dude in jail, he would still be alive. Right? He's free, but because he's free, he's still got those demons and all of them shits where he can't control himself. And dude succumbed to that shit and he died in his kitchen, and his wife found the body. You know? And so
what do you think about that though? I mean, you know, alive isn't necessarily the same as living, right?
But at the end of the day, it's like, you be careful about what you ask for, because you never know what you're going to get. You know, you get a person who you're fighting for this dude's rights, trying to get him out of jail. You got all the proof in the world that the lab technician was, you know, cooking the books and taking dope and doing all this other shit. And then you get dude free and he dies. He ODs. He takes the same drugs, you know, that the system was trying to keep him away from. But you doing all this vigilante shit, got him out, and dude fucking died. You know? And the lawyer had to come to terms with that. And you could see it really fucked him up, right? Because he was just kind of like, you know, he's really questioning himself. So I'm just saying that to you as a lesson, you know, like, yeah, you would think like, yeah, everybody go to work. Everybody ain't got to go to work and everybody gonna go vote. Yeah, but everybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, and I'm actually okay with that. You know, I don't like the idea that we believe that, or we present things as if anything's a majority of position. I have a problem with that, right? I mean, we have so much confidence in the fact that, oh yeah, you know, I got elected. That means everybody wanted me to do this. When half of us don't even feel like we're part of the system enough, we're so disenfranchised to even participate. You know, I have no doubt that things will be a surprise. That to me is more interesting than nothing ever not being a surprise. You know what I mean?
I'm with you, man. I don't roll dice that big. You know what I'm saying? I stay in my little 10% space. You know, with dice rolls and the wages are really small, really effective, but it's more of a long-term play. I don't roll those public dice. You know, those some big ass dice to roll on behalf of other folks. But those are some of those kind of unintended consequences that actually happen. You know, because it was thousands of cases, right? It was like these women or these drug lab technicians. It was thousands of cases that were brought up. Like hundreds of people got out of jail. It was certain people where by the time that happened, they were already out. They had already served their sentence and all kinds of shit. So it didn't even matter that the case got thrown out, right? They'd already served their whole full sentence and shit. But the people who didn't, it was these weird things, you know, that was related to it. And the craziest shit was the lady in Amherst, because I think it was Amherst and then Boston. The lady in Boston who was the drug addict. The lady in Amherst was the drug addict.
Okay.
She was like, why are they throwing out all my cases? I was like, because bitch, you do a dope thing. And her response, and again, here's the response. Here's the response to reconstruction. Here's the redemption. Here's this the moment after. She says, listen, all the drugs were real. If they weren't, I wouldn't have took them.
Oh my God. I gotta check this on Netflix. I'm gonna watch this. I gotta check this out. Did you see the Five Bloods? What do you think of the Five Bloods?
I didn't watch Five Bloods yet. I want to watch it because I really like Delroy Lindo, but I didn't watch it. I'm gonna put it on there. But isn't that beautiful though?
Yeah.
A beautiful, like, trust me, all them niggas was guilty. What you dope fiend head, base head bitch? What you talking about? Oh, guilty. How do you know? How the fuck dare you still stand and say this? Listen, I'm a dope fiend too, nigga. If the shit was fake, I wouldn't have snorted the shit. That's how I know you guilty. Niggas like, yeah, well, I have a point though. I do only serving that pure, that eco. You know what I'm saying? She is right though. She right, but off the technicality, you know, all these niggas is out in the streets.
I wanna ask you one question, and I've thought about this for a while. You always still, I mean, pun intended, but you always seem so level-headed. It doesn't seem like your emotions ever get, you know, at least publicly affected by macro things that I know bother you in terms of how it affects your people you care about. You know, you're one of the people who always has heart and compassion in how you talk about all the world's ills, let's say. How do you do that? You know, because you mentioned earlier something to the effect of, you know, people get so emotionally attached or invested in all these things, and as a result, aren't as level-headed or aren't necessarily looking the next steps away. How do you remain so centered?
I mean, I think it's because I'm an Aquarius first, right? And I think that does have something to play into it. My temperament and my mentality is different. But that's some bullshit. The real piece is that, you know, I was told what poverty was, as we all were. Everybody told us we were in poverty. You're impoverished, right? And I'm looking at my neighborhood and I'm like, yeah, this shit do look fucked up, right? It's like, yeah, this shit is, nigga, I live in poverty, nigga. Like, I'm from poverty, right? And you like, yeah, you know, I can do, I'm held down and the white man put me back and, you know, nigga, I'm impoverished, right? And then you get a plane ticket to the Philippines. And you go to Manila on any given Sunday, and you start to be like, well, when I was a kid, I didn't have to do that. You know, oh, well, we never did that. Oh, we ain't never living no shit like that. Oh, we never had to do that. We actually had a bathroom. We just didn't have a toilet seat floating over a river, right? Next to downtown with the crazy building and the mansion and the dude in a Ferrari and all that shit. But it's like, yeah, we ain't never had that shit though. Never. I've never seen that shit ever. Except here. Then you start to realize, like, oh, it's levels to this shit. Right? Like, no, this is poverty. What I have is a version of poverty, but this is actually poverty. This is what actually being broke looks like. This is what that shit looks like. Or you go You take a road trip to Pine Ridge, South Dakota. And niggas like, man, you live in a food desert. Oh, yeah, I do live in a food desert. I ain't shit around here with some motherfucking Cheetos and some fucking chicken wings. I mean, the shit is good, but man, ain't no vegetables in this bitch. Ain't no vegetables. Well, I need some vegetables, nigga. What the fucking vegetables? You go to South Dakota, and you like, oh, these niggas live in a desert. Not by choice. Like, this is a desert. And it ain't even no grocery stores, period. Ain't no grocery store here to even put vegetables in that bitch. And you're like, oh, there's levels to this. Man, niggas is locked up. The police so fucked up, man. Police out here dope on niggas. Man, police out here doing this. Police out here whooping niggas' asses, man. That shit is fucked up, man. I can't believe the police out here doing this fuck shit to all these niggas, man. I can't believe it. Right? Then you get a ticket. You go to Colombia. Right? And you like, oh, shit. Niggas is just disappearing. Niggas not even catching cases when they fuck with the police. A case? Nigga, what's a case? I'm not arresting you. I'm burying you in this fucking landfill, my nigga. Nigga, you have to pay me to come on the block. Like, you have to pay me. Right now. Right now. Or I'm gonna let this bitch burn down. Oh, you mean in Brazil, in the favelas, they just shoot niggas on the street? Like, they not even kicking in those? They just pulling up on niggas and killing niggas? Like, the police is doing drive-bys? Oh, I've never seen a police officer do a drive-by in America, ever. Never seen that shit in my hood. I ain't never seen a police officer just start shooting a car. Right? Never. And I'm like, oh, it's levels to this shit. It's levels to this shit. Man, the police so fucked up. Nigga, you always talking about Japan, man. You fucking Japan. Nigga, go and move to Japan, nigga. You go to Japan, the police there's a 100% conviction rate.
I didn't know that.
100%. Nigga, you did it. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Why we arrest you? Because it's fucked up. No, we arrested you because you did it. I didn't do it. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. See, I told you did it.
Wow.
That's prison. They're not arresting you unless they got a case. Like a 100% conviction. That don't sound weird to you? Like, nobody beat their cases? Nobody won? Like, no one? No, nigga, no. Oh, it's levels to this shit. Because I know 8 niggas who beat their cases who were super dirty.
Right.
Who had all kinds of shit. And you got to let them go. You didn't knock. You got to let them go. Right? That shit. So, it's levels to the shit. And once you experience that and you see the different levels of what the story, and trust me, we have a narrative here that is real and legit. Niggas do get their ass whooped. But niggas ain't disappearing. Like, you can't find the body. Like, there is no funeral because we don't know where this nigga is. The police. You don't want that shit. You don't want to disappear in the middle of the night. You don't want to be in Egypt and the nigga just come in your house and your whole family vanishes. You don't want that shit. Right? I'm not saying that you should appreciate and respect this shit, so nobody should respect oppression. But don't get it confused. Nigga, you have it real good here. And it's not just some shit a white person to tell you that. And a white person will tell you because he's right. Nigga, you got it good in this bitch. And that's not something to be like haughty over or to shut you up. But it's something to like protect this. Right? Understand your position and your power. And how you can make a difference for people around the world. And when I experienced places where people don't have faucets, you want some water, Nigga, go to the river and get a cup, pull that shit out yourself. There's no faucet. A faucet, nigga, what the fuck is that? Right? I don't have a bed. I need a mattress. A mattress? Yeah, I need a mattress. Because I'm sleeping on this floor. And not just floor, nigga. Like this dirt, this earth. I've been sleeping on this shit my whole life. I've never experienced what it feels like to sleep on a fucking bed. So that's just my personal experience. I'm sure you've probably never experienced that shit. I'm sure there's a ton of people on this chat, a ton of people in the world who've never experienced that shit. I've experienced all that shit. I've seen it all. I've seen women unable to feed their children, laying in front, just like laying in the middle of the street next to a gas station, like with babies, just the wildest poverty I've ever fucking seen. I've never seen no shit like that in America. Right? And with no services. There is no welfare service. Welfare? What the fuck is you talking about? I mean, there is no mission, there's no church that's coming to bring you a meal. You're on your own. And I think once you experience a taste of that life and you hear those stories and you see those things with your own eyes and you see the power of a dollar, you see how much a dollar actually goes in a certain country where people have never seen that shit before, and how they still exist, still manage to live, still manage to prosper, still be a fucking computer scientist, still be able to just, add and subtract. Like, you would think like the aesthetics of the poverty mean that these people don't know what the fuck they're doing, or they're dumb. They're fucking geniuses. And you look at niggas over here with everything, and these niggas dumb as a bag of fucking rocks. How do you think that makes somebody feel who's their whole life they've been told that they've had it bad and they've had it this and they've had it that? Like, these niggas ain't got books. Now, you have a school that you choose not to go to because you ain't got nothing to wear that day. Nigga, it's kids who walk to school in Siberia. They don't close the school. This is real shit. They don't close the school unless it's, I think, 57 degrees below zero. If it's 51 degrees, school's open, my nigga, and you're going. And niggas go. And walk 5 motherfucking miles. Right? And I think that if you had to switch positions, nigga, you know how many people trying to get into this motherfucking country? Nigga, do you know how many people trying to get into this fucking country?
Right.
And Trump is like, nope, no. Republicans, no. Democrats, no. Barack Obama, no. He deported more niggas than Trump did. No.
In 4 years or 8 years.
Niggas know what that shit is. So that's my piece, man. Like, I have a worldview. I've been able to experience things, and not just because I'm famous. I've been experiencing this shit since when I was broken in the ghetto in the fucking hood, right? I've experienced that and seen it, been able to go to different places just in my city. As much as Chicago is a segregated fucking place, that segregation has a value because you're able to go into different cultures completely. Like, you're able to go into a fully Polish neighborhood, and then a fully Pakistani neighborhood, and then a fully Indian neighborhood, and then a fully Chinese neighborhood, and a fully Japanese neighborhood, and full on, right? And see how these people operate, see the differences in the way the shit is clean, and see the differences in the way people treat each other, and the way people react, and the way people do all the shit. And I got to be able to see that shit and then go downtown, be able to calculate there's a difference between where I live and where these people live, and what are those differences. And then you get to go around the world and do this other shit. And I think that there's people that I know who never went downtown, let alone go to Columbia, go to Pine Ridge. Nigga, they never been downtown, right? They've never walked around the city just to see, like, never see. They probably seen 2 white people their whole life, and one's probably a doctor, the other probably a cop. They've never conversed with a white person before. Only white people they see on TV. And it becomes like, you put that on me, nigga, my first friend was white. Yeah, white dude next door. This dude was a white dude next door. Like, yeah, I had black friends. I had friends of all colors and races and creeds, and that type of immersion into different societies and different points of view, it makes you become Malcolm X, because that's what happened with Malcolm X. Malcolm X went to Mecca. He's seen all of these cultures. He's seen all of these people. He started to realize, like, yeah, maybe these people do that shit better than I do, right? Or maybe I do. Maybe this shit ain't all that bad, right? If maybe I've had this shit wrong a little bit. Let me alter my shit. And he got a world perspective. You take somebody like Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton, he had the Rainbow Coalition. The Black Panthers just had the Black Panthers. He had the Rainbow Coalition. He's like, I'm taking everybody. He was taking dudes from the South, where they were fucking white supremacists from the South in the hood. I think he called it, what was that shit called? It was something Harlem, like hillbilly Harlem is what they called it. And you had these racist white folks living in the fucking ghetto, living in the hood. And he brought to them, he was like, look, nigga, we in the same place. What does this mean? It ain't got shit to do with color, my nigga. Like, it's our class and the system and the society. And he converted them niggas. Right? He didn't shoot it out with these niggas or kill them or get into no shit. He was like, look, this is the situation, nigga. Look around. We all broke in this bitch. Now what we finna do? And I think that point of view is, I'm not trying to fight with the cops. I'm trying to collaborate with the cops, because I'm gonna need the cops, and the cops don't fucking need me. I need to get into a position where a cop feels like he needs me for his survival. I can't tell this nigga what to do, but he needs me for his survival. How can I do that? So, that's it. That's all I got. What do you think about Black Panther, nigga? Like, you
You remember we talked about that, right?
How much shit I got for that?
Yo, I mean, you know what's funny? Because you were talking about MLK taking over Birmingham, and I was thinking about the Black Panther shit that we were talking about. Let's say, let's say we do take over Birmingham, or let's say, Black Panther decides not to give all the vibranium to the rest of the world. Who we gonna trade with? We need allies. Yo, you killed me with that. I came out the movie like, Killmonger was right. And he was like, who Black Panther gonna trade with? What happens when all the Avengers start showing up in Wakanda? I was like, that's a good point. That's a really good point, actually.
Real life, what you just said in real life, James Baldwin went to Chicago. Yeah. And he went to go meet with Elijah Muhammad at the house. So he went to the house, he had dinner, and they were just sitting there talking. And James Baldwin, being the centrist that he is, he was just kind of listening, and he was getting the plans. And Elijah Muhammad was talking about how they had all the land. I think they had a bunch of land in like either Mississippi or Alabama, and these were the plans, and so they was gonna do, and And then he remembered, this was funny. So they was like, okay, he's like, okay, dinner's over, I need to go do some other shit. So James Baldwin, they two of the I guess, Fruit of Islam at the time, whatever, they got in the car, got in like this Oldsmobile or whatever fuck. Because Elijah Muhammad had money. The niggas was rich. Still rich.
Right. Still rich.
So James Baldwin said that he didn't want to tell them where he was going because he was going to meet up with some white people, right? So I think he was just saying, like, just drop me off over here, I'll be straight. But anyway, in the midst of the car ride, he was like, the brothers are like, yeah, because you see, brother, Elijah Muhammad, the minister, got a plan. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And James Baldwin was like, I bet not say nothing. So he just kind of kept quiet and just kind of like, got them to drop him off and then go meet his people, whatever. And then in the interview where he was narrating the story, he was like, all he kept thinking about was, who are y'all finna trade with? right? He was like, if you're going to, because that's what the Nation of Islam wanted to do. They were going to secede. They were going to go get this land, secede from the Union, and kind of have their own shit. They had the relationships with, I think, a couple Arab countries or whatever the fuck. But it was like, so all y'all finna get into one place where they could just send one bomb and kill all y'all, but that's one thing. But he was like, who are y'all gonna trade with, right? You're driving around in an Oldsmobile right now. This is a product of trade, right? This is a product of different, collaboration between different groups that requires white people and black people and Arab people and this to complete this thing that you're driving around in. He's like, what's gonna happen when you cut ties with that, right? Do you have enough of a base to generate everything that you need within the community? And that was one of the pieces that Malcolm X was pushing, where he was like, you can make everything. You can make chairs, you can make this, you can make that, you can do this, you do that. But it's like, nigga, you need a forest to make chairs. Like, like there's other components and parts and pieces to the program that you kind of need. It isn't just get this, get that, and you straight. And that piece about James Baldwin is exactly what you just said. It was like, well, who are you gonna, now that we've seceded, now that we've got away from the enemies, now that we got completely segregated, who are we going to trade with, right? Are we just going to be eating bean pies all day? Or if I want some pasta, some Chinese food, is it cool to call Chinese people and get some soy sauce in this bitch? Like what? Like,
right.
Like that are real questions, which may seem small and trivial and may feel like you're trying to do a disservice to people's movements. But that's why James Baldwin didn't say shit. And that's kind of a lesson that I'm going to start doing when I turn about like 40. When I turn 40 years old, I'm not saying shit no more. Right. I think I got the youth and I'm able to whoop a motherfucker's ass and be a little bit quicker on the pistol than they are. I'm going to talk all shit for the next 2 years. When I turn 40, I'm going to take up James Baldwin mantle and just kind of keep this shit to myself, because it's that you learn, like there's certain shit that that may seem like, yes, this is what you should be thinking about. You should be thinking about, who am I going to be trading with? Right. And beyond the, how many guns we're going to get, what type of suits we're going to wear, like what we're going to, what type of programs we're going to open and da-da-da-da. And it's kind of like, bruh, but who you talking about becoming a nation. Nations thrive off trade. Who the fuck you finna trade?
Yeah. I mean, we see that with Venezuela right now. We see that with the Axis of Evil when Bush said that during the State of the Union. Economic sanctions are crippling. To me, that's worse than any bomb ever dropped anywhere. When you restrict a country's or an organization's ability to trade, the people get mad at you. They get mad at their own leaders. How come this? If you don't have the opportunity to, if you don't have the opportunity to work with other people, I don't know what's scarier than that as an organization. I don't know what makes your lifeline shorter. Meaning, like I look at the reservations and the Native Americans, right? I just got hip to some things. I didn't realize that a lot of these reservations that are out there, that in this country, America just breaks the treaty all the time, right? I think once I started seeing the Dakota pipeline, protests, and I'm like, oh, this got to be crazy illegal. It's going through another country. Nope, doesn't care. And that wasn't an outlier. It's been happening ever since, and you got to have a big homie. At some point, you got to be, this is a Mortal Technique told me this the other day. He's like, you got to be like North Korea if you're going to do it. You got to be like, yeah, I got about 7 or 8 and I got a big homie. What you going to do? If you don't have that, what you going to do?
Real talk.
Yeah, he killed me with that.
Real talk. I'll look at it like, I'm not interested in the people that ask for money. I'm interested in the people that generate money. People that ask for money have a weakness inherently in their system. They can't maintain themselves. It's the people who generate money. When I was a part of the Occupy, I was one of the money generators. I wasn't asking you for shit. And I didn't really care about getting involved in your shit either. I'm just here to make sure I got something to eat and a place to stay. And that type of lesson is like, that's where the power really lies. Like the people that ask for money are really fucking loud because they gotta ask. So you gotta be loud. Closed mouth don't get fed, as they say. But who's the nigga doing the feeding? He ain't gotta say shit.
He don't say nothing.
Right? He's just in the back chilling. And I think that piece of the pie is that piece of the bean pie is very much so important. And on the Native American piece, what a lot of people is another piece of their history, which isn't controversial at all. It's controversial for niggas who don't know the shit. But it's like on the 10% side of things, like Native Americans are like, nigga, we not y'all. You know, like we not, don't tie us into y'all weak shit. Right? Like we got treaties, we got sovereignty. They weren't interested in like civil rights. It's like civil rights, nigga, your laws don't even apply to us. That's on y'all. And you would think that it's like, oh, we got all this solidarity with these nations. It's like, no, because you're asking them to kind of give up some of their sovereignty by recognizing the legality of these other things, which you're trying to fight against. And there was some people, that was like a weird experience. Like even when I learned about that shit, I was like, that sounds crazy. Because it's like, no, nigga, we don't fuck with y'all. Like we have a different history than you. Like we actually fought these motherfuckers. That's why we got sovereignty. Like we didn't do to Martin Luther King. We actually started killing niggas. Right? We was killing niggas, killing kids, killing babies. We was out here savages, tearing up shit. And it wasn't every tribe, but you had certain tribes that were doing that shit. It's like, we're finna go ahead and kill this whole motherfucking town. Right? Kill the babies, kill everything. Kidnap, he looks nice, keep him. But all these motherfuckers over 10 have got to go. Right? And it's just kind of like those relationships and where you think you stand. Again, assessing your enemy to assess yourself. And I think if people start assessing themselves, they'll realize, like, man, you're not built for this shit. Not that level. You might as well just wait. You might as well either leave, which is what I'm on. I'm trying to get people to leave. Like strategic exodus. Like do the research, get a dual citizenship somewhere, set up some property, treat America as your summer home or your Airbnb. But you know, establish yourself somewhere else where you're able to start from scratch, or at least plug into a system which is on itself trying to build itself up, and you can be a part of that program. But this shit's already built. America's built. You're talking about taking shit away, defund, right? You're not talking about build a new thing. Like let's take some shit away, and I think you're gonna have problems with that.
What do you think of Year the Return that Ghana's doing? I'm a big fan of that.
I'm in it. I'm looking at ECOWAS, me in Sierra Leone, who's starting the process. I'm just investigating as much of it as I can, but it might not be Africa. I don't think Africa's for everybody. You know, I think it might be where you feel best suited to be. You know, I think it feels like where you want to be. And it's not, because it's not to revert back just to a narrative of myth that we grew up with. We grew up with that Africa is home shit. And for some people, like, Africa's just a house, but it's not home. But at the same time, too, there's white people in Africa who think Africa is their home, and Indians who think Africa is their home. It's not just black people there, right? It's a wide array of people who call that place home, for real. Were born and raised there, and their kids will be there and they'll die there. And at the end of the day, it's land, and it's culture, and it's what culture do you fit in? Like, I'm trying to go to Japan, for real. Eating fucking sushi and chilling, you know, play with my samurai sword. Right. I want to live the rest of it. Right. You know, I don't want to be in, you know, fucking Dakota doing some shit. Like, I don't want that. But it's, I think it's for whatever the person feels is best for them. If it's Ghana, it's Ghana. If it's most welcoming and economically active for you to be, it's there. But just so people know, those channels are there and they're open, right? And they are places in Africa that are looking for people in the diaspora. There's places in Japan where people are looking. There's places in Thailand. There's places all over the world. But what even America's looking and asking. But what they're asking for is come add some value to society. You know, come add some academic or intellectual value. Come add some economic value to society. Come add some cultural value to our society. Don't just come and just be a regular motherfucker, right? Don't just come and just do the basic shit you was doing back there. If you want to come, we'll welcome you. We'll give you citizenship. We'll give you all that shit. But come with a plan and a purpose. Come understanding that it is a cultural compromise. Like in Japan, you can't be a citizen unless you take a Japanese name, right? They're going to want you to take a Japanese surname. They're going to want you to learn Japanese. They're going to want you to do certain cultural things so you can add value to the culture and add that value in a way that is open for everyone. They don't just want you just coming in, being a motherfucking American and just like making your way around using Google Translate everywhere you fucking go. They want you to be immersed in the society, and they want you to be a part of the society in a major way. So I think those demands are reasonable. you know? And I think a lot of people in Mexico meet those demands in the States, right? They meet that. They're like, we're going to add value to the country. We've proven that we're going to add value to the country. We're doing jobs that motherfuckers don't want to do. We're doing jobs that motherfuckers can't do. We're doing above and beyond that. We're smart. We're geniuses. We're computer programmers. We're all this shit. So we can add value to your country and to your company. I think companies see that all the time, and companies are a lot of the people that are actually sponsoring a lot of the green cards and different peoples like that. But they're gonna want, and that may be the route for some people going into other countries. Like, you have to look at, is there a company that is willing to bring you in that you're already proven to add value, and they'll set you up and make sure you're straight, blah, 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 blah. So I think it's that. If you're put yourself in a position now to say, how can I add value to the place that I want to go, right? Because I'm not going to just go to Africa and not be able to help Africa or figure out how Africa can help me, or we can help each other and grow. A great story specifically about Ghana, and I guess we can end on this because it's getting late, is that Henry Gates, Skip Gates, great brother, super smart. He did a whole documentary series on Africa, going back to Africa. And it wasn't as, I mean, some of it was greatly educational, but there's other parts of it where he was even shocked at, like, oh shit. And specifically about Ghana, back in, I think in the 60s, you had this exodus of like black folk leaving, getting fed up, having their kind of Nina Simone moment, right? I'm like, fuck this shit, I'm out. Going to Ghana. And, you know, like, this is it. Went down to the beach together, like in this ritual. They all threw their passports in the ocean. It's like, I'm never going back. I'm burning the bridge. I'm here. It was like 2 weeks later. The people, you know, the people in the villages or whatever, they just start seeing these like lights on the beach. Like these weird, just kind of lights just on the beach. What it was those same people going back to look for their fucking passports.
Oh man, you got rent before you buy, man. Rent before you buy.
So, you know,
oh man, yo man, it's good to catch up with. It's good to catch up with you, man. And you know, that you said something earlier, and I know we cutting it off, but you said something earlier that stuck with me too, because it reminds me of that interlude on Drogas Wave, talking about you are a consumer, you're not a producer. Stuck with me, and I think more people need to realize the difference.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, man. Love you, bro. Always a pleasure. I hope you're doing well in the time of COVID, bro. And we'll catch up. New music coming soon too, so prepare yourself. Prepare your reviewer fingertips.
I'm ready. You know I'm ready, man. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without your inspiration, man. You know that. The whole world knows that, and I thank you every day for it.
Type up extremely biased reviews.
Word up, man.
All right, bro.
All right, bro. Talk to you later.